Everything in your life can change in a single moment. One message, one rejection, one loss. And suddenly, everything you planned, everything you worked for, starts falling apart right in front of you. You did everything right. You worked hard. You stayed patient. You made dua. So why didn't it work out? This is the moment that tests you. Because when things collapse, it doesn't just hurt, it confuses you. You sit there thinking, I trusted Allah, so why is this happening to me? People will tell you, just have tawakkul, just trust Allah. But what does that even mean when your chest feels heavy and your mind won't slow down? Does trusting Allah mean you stop feeling pain? Does it mean you just accept everything and move on? Because the truth is, it's easy to talk about tawakkul when life is going your way. But when you're in the middle of uncertainty, when things don't make sense, when you feel like you're losing control, that's when tawakkul becomes real. So here's the question. Why do things fall apart even when you trust Allah? And how do you keep going when you don't understand what He's doing? In this video, you're going to understand tawakkul in a way that changes how you see your struggles, your losses, and your future. Because real tawakkul isn't about having everything go your way. It's about trusting Allah even when nothing does. Even in the silence. Even in the waiting. Even when the answer isn't what you hoped for. There's a misunderstanding about tawakkul that quietly ruins how people experience it. A lot of people think tawakkul means, I trust Allah, so I'll just wait and see what happens. No real effort, no real struggle, just words. But that's not trust, that's avoidance. And on the other side, you have people who do everything. They plan, they push, they work endlessly. But when things don't go their way, they break. Because deep down, they believed their effort guaranteed the outcome. So now you have two extremes. One person does nothing and calls it tawakkul. The other does everything, but still can't accept when things don't work out. And both of them feel frustrated, because real life doesn't match what they expected. You might recognize this feeling. You try your best, you put in the effort, you stay consistent, you make dua sincerely again and again. And still, the result is not what you wanted. That opportunity doesn't come through. That situation doesn't change. That door stays closed. And slowly, the silence starts to feel heavy. And that's when the questions start getting louder. Did I not try hard enough? Did I do something wrong? Why isn't Allah giving me what I asked for? Why does it feel like my dua isn't being answered? This is where the misunderstanding becomes painful. Because tawakkul was never meant to be a guarantee that things go your way. It was never a formula, effort plus dua equals the exact result you want. And the moment you start believing that, every delay feels like rejection. Every closed door feels personal. Every unanswered dua feels like distance. But that's not the reality. The reality is, when we misunderstand tawakkul, we attach our faith to outcomes. And when those outcomes don't match our expectations, our trust starts to shake. And that's dangerous, because instead of bringing you closer to Allah, it slowly creates doubt, frustration, and even distance. So the real problem isn't that tawakkul doesn't work, it's that we've been understanding it the wrong way this whole time. And until that changes, no matter how much effort you put in, it will always feel like something is missing. What if the issue isn't your effort, but your expectation of how Allah should respond? So if tawakkul isn't just waiting, and it isn't controlling everything either, then what is it? To understand tawakkul, you need to understand one simple image. Imagine a man travelling through the desert. He has a camel, and that camel is everything to him. It carries his food, his water, his survival. Now imagine he reaches a place to rest. He gets off the camel and says, I trust Allah, and just walks away, leaving the camel untied. What happens next is obvious. The camel runs off. Now he's left alone in the desert, not because he didn't trust Allah, but because he didn't take responsibility. This is exactly how many people misunderstand tawakkul. They let go of effort, thinking it's trust. But real tawakkul is different. Real tawakkul is tying your camel and then trusting Allah. It means you do everything in your control. You plan, you act, you try. You put in the effort with sincerity. but at the same time, you let go of the outcome. And that's the part that's difficult, because as humans, we want control, we want certainty, we want things to go exactly the way we imagined. But Tawakkul teaches you something deeper. You are responsible for the effort. Allah is responsible for the outcome. And once you truly understand that, something shifts inside you. You stop measuring your worth based on results. You stop thinking that every closed door means failure. You stop assuming that delay means rejection. Because you realize your job was never to control the result. Your job was to show up, to try, and to trust. And when you do that, even if things don't go your way, you don't break the same way anymore. Because your heart is no longer attached to what happens. It's attached to the one who controls what happens. That is tawakkul. Not passive, not controlling, but a balance that gives you both strength and peace at the same time. And once you live with that mindset, effort stops feeling heavy, and uncertainty stops feeling terrifying. Because you're no longer carrying the weight of outcomes that were never yours to begin with. You still care, you still hope, but you're no longer dependent on a specific result to feel at peace. And that's what makes tawakkul so powerful. It frees you without making you passive, and strengthens you without making you rigid. Now comes the hardest part of tawakkul. Not when things are easy, not when life is going your way, but when everything you hoped for doesn't happen. Imagine this. You've been working towards something for a long time. You made plans, you sacrificed, you stayed patient when it was difficult. You kept going when it would have been easier to quit. And deep down, you were sure it would work out. But then one day, it doesn't. You get the rejection. The opportunity disappears. The outcome you were waiting for never comes. And in that moment, everything feels heavy. It's not just disappointment, it's confusion. It's that quiet feeling in your chest, asking, why would Allah let this happen? You start replaying everything in your mind. Maybe I should have done more. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe this is my fault. And slowly, what started as hope turns into doubt. This is where most people struggle. Because we expect that if we trust Allah, things will go the way we want. But tawakkul was never about getting the outcome you expect. It was about trusting that whatever happens is exactly what you need, even if you don't understand it right now. And that's difficult to accept. Because sometimes what Allah chooses for you looks like loss. It looks like a closed door. It looks like something being taken away from you. But what you don't see in that moment is what you're being protected from, or what you're being prepared for. There are people who got exactly what they wanted, and it ended up breaking them. And there are people who lost what they thought they needed, and it ended up saving them. But you only see that later, never in the moment. In the moment, all you see is what's missing. And that's why tawakkul requires something deeper than understanding. It requires trust without full clarity. It requires believing that Allah's plan is still good, even when it doesn't feel good. And that's not easy, but that's what transforms you. Because when you hold on to that trust, even in pain, you come out stronger, calmer, and more grounded than before. Not because life became easier, but because your heart learned where to rely. And once you see it that way, even your losses begin to carry meaning instead of just pain. That's when everything starts to change. After all the confusion, the questions, and the emotional weight, tawakkul leads you to something most people are actually searching for: peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything going your way, but the kind that stays, even when things don't. Because when you truly understand Tawakkul, something inside you begins to loosen. You stop holding on to outcomes so tightly. You stop needing everything to make sense immediately. And instead, you start letting go. Not of effort, but of control. And that changes everything. Because a lot of the stress you feel doesn't come from what you're going through. It comes from trying to control what was never in your hands to begin with. Trying to predict every outcome. Trying to force things to happen. Trying to hold on to something that maybe wasn't meant to stay. But when you practice Tawakkul, you still try your best. You still care. You still put in the effort. The difference is, you're no longer carrying the weight of what if. And that's where peace begins. You begin to trust that whatever is meant for you will reach you. And whatever misses you was never meant for you in the first place. So instead of constantly worrying about what's coming next, you become present. You focus on what you can do right now, and you leave the rest to Allah. That doesn't make life perfect, but it makes your heart lighter. And slowly you realize, letting go isn't losing control. It's finally being free from it. Free from constant worry, free from overthinking, and free from the pressure of needing everything to go exactly as planned. And that kind of freedom is something nothing in this world can truly replace. It's quiet, but it's powerful. So now, think back to that question. Why do things fall apart, even when you trust Allah? It's not because your trust is weak. It's not because your dua wasn't heard. And it's not because you did something wrong. Sometimes things fall apart because they were never meant to stay. Because Allah, in His wisdom, sees what you can't see. He knows what would have hurt you, would have distracted you, what would have taken you further away, even if Tawakkul is accepting that. And Tawakkul is accepting, not instantly, but sincerely. It's choosing to believe that every delay has purpose, every loss has meaning, and every outcome, even the painful ones, are part of something greater than you can't understand right now. So when life doesn't go your way, don't see it as the end, see it as redirection. Maybe right now you don't understand what's happening in your life, but one day you will look back and realize that what felt like everything falling apart was actually everything falling into place. So keep trusting Allah. And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. And if this reminded you of something you needed to hear, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more.